It was the wealth of the 1850s gold rushes that led to the building of the city of Dunedin. The early Scottish settlers and miners put their imprint on the city's development, so much so that it is known as the Edinburgh of the South, and it still retains much of the Scots-inspired architecture, including the famous and very photogenic Dunedin railway station. And it's from the platforms of this station that two scenic excursion trains depart daily, the Seasider and the Taieri Gorge Railway. The Taieri Gorge Railway follows the tracks of what was once a much longer Central Otago Railway. Following the closure of the Central Otago Railway around 1990, the inland half was converted to the Central Otago Cycle Trail. Taking several days to complete, this cycle trail has become world famous. Following the closure of the track, the Taieri Gorge Railway Trust gained ownership of the remaining portion. And that's what today's excursion is travelling along. It's time to rush out to see one of the features of the track, the Wingatui Viaduct. Built in 1887, this is the largest wrought iron structure still standing in New Zealand. We come out of a narrow gorge into a wider valley and see the Taieri River. We're going to follow the river for most of the outgoing trip, and of course through the Taieri Gorge. Along the way we pass remnants of several very small stations. When the commercial line was operating, some of these stations linked into nearby farms or gold miners' camps. I shot this video in the early stages of the COVID-19 pandemic. There was already a major drop in the number of tourists taking the daily excursion, but the lower numbers gave adequate opportunity for social distancing in the carriages. However, within a week, a national level 4 lockdown was decreed in New Zealand. All travel was restricted and the railway closed down. During the lockdown, some of the railway was mothballed and other rolling stock was relocated. Traditionally, around 80% of the passengers carried on the daily excursions were international tourists. Until international tourism regains the pre-COVID-19 pandemic levels, it is unlikely that there will be regular excursion trains running. There is a photo stop on both the outward and the return journeys, with the outward journey stop being at Hindon. It's at Hindon that we find the statue to Susan the collie sheepdog, and the dog competes with the view as a photographic subject.
Those quite sharp curves to the right. Across, you can see that red painted bridge. That bridge crosses pay off on the flat. That great
And now the track and train passes through the narrow Taieri Gorge, with the railway just clinging to the cliffside in places. Leaving the Taieri Gorge, we rise up into the beginning of the high-level central Otago Plains. And so we arrive at Pukarangi, our turnaround destination for today. Some passengers will leave the train here to be shuttled to the Otago Railway Trail. And then there are others who have completed the rail trail cycleway, have shuttled in to catch the train back to Dunedin. The train has a cafe carriage which provides refreshments, tea, coffee, cold drinks, food. The return journey photo stop, and a chance to photograph some pretty river views. And in no time at all, we're off again, homeward bound. The return trip from Dunedin to Pukarangi and back takes around 4 hours. Throughout the journey, the train manager provides an interesting commentary. He identifies special features and gives a historic account of the railway and the landscape we pass through. Now it is time for our return crossing of the Wingatui Viaduct. It's 197 metres long and 47 metres at the tallest point. The track across the viaduct stands on 7 concrete and masonry piers. The viaduct is one of New Zealand's 19th century engineering wonders, and it was all built by hand. Now leaving the gorges and the viaducts behind, we come out onto the Taieri Plain. And then very soon we rejoin the main trunk railway line and we come into the outskirts of Dunedin city.